She said, in their church, which is a huge church, many parents, those young youth parents, they're non-believers. They drive their car, drop their young people, and then they go shopping. And by the end of the day, Sunday, then they come to pick up the young people. Have you seen those kind of situation? Maybe in some church. So in the beginning, she was very frustrated and rejecting those kind of, she was considered irresponsible. We are not a daycare center, for young people. They just drop off and just go. Right? So for a while, she was, in her heart, she kind of reject those kind of situation and doesn't want to pay attention to those young people. But then one day, in her devotion, she read this Bible verse. Though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me. She thought, what a blessing it is for young people, especially during teenage year, have very strong spiritual parents who can care about them, and walk with them. It's a blessing, right? But many of the young people, they don't have those situations. Some of them may be a single family, mom or dad is not at home. So after she touched by this Bible verse, she has a resolution. She wants to build a strong youth fellowship based on the key word, home. So those young people, even though in their own home, they cannot have those kind of love or care from their parents, but in church, in God's house, they can feel the acceptance and receiving of the church body. So with that mindset, she started building the youth ministry. The first thing she did was spending quite a long time. I think she said 1 or 2 years, to identify certain young professional group, like the college group or even in graduate. So she identified those groups, maybe 20 people, and care about them and nourish them. And I asked her, how do you do that? How do you build up a strong, I would say, counselor group? And her answer is very simple. She said, I just do 2 things. And guess what are those 2 things? To build up this strong counselor group. What would she do? Only 2 things to build up this group. Okay, this is, I will keep the answer, I think that's on the slide, maybe the next one, but I'll keep the answer there. It's quite simple. And somehow, that become one of my dreams also. I'll share more about this later. So, we said in passing on is very important, for God's presence, right? So, the key people can connect to God. But remember Jesus said, remain in me and I in you. Whoever remains in me will bear much fruit. For individuals like that, for a group it's also like that, for a fellowship also like that. So I want to think together with you, how can we ensure God's presence? We can, of course, all our hymn, the focus of the hymn is to worship God, right? To give thanks to God. But also, besides singing, what else we need to do to ensure that, we are in God and God is in us? And here I want to use John 14:21. Shall read together. Whoever has my commands and keeps them is the one who loves me. The one who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I too will love them and show myself to them. The one who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I too will love them, and show myself to them. The key is whoever has my command and they keep them. So it's very important among our worship, there should be some truths also. We know God's command, and we carry out those commands. So we live out a life which is according to Jesus' teaching. So this is an assurance from Jesus' own word that when we have His command and we keep His command, we will consider who loves God, right? And Jesus Himself will be with us. This is Jesus Himself's assurance to us. In Matthew 18, let's read together. For where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there am I with them. Right. I think this probably is easy for us because when we worship together, we always have 2 or 3 persons. But the key thing is we will gather in His name. That's the center of our fellowship, at the center of our activities. So that's one thing which we must have, which is Christ-centered. That's all the activity, the key thing there. Anybody know who this person is? Have you watched the movie Amazing Grace? No? I highly recommend. That's a wonderful movie you should watch. Eunice get that movie for me, and we watched it a couple of times. It's talking about, John Newton, right? John Newton was the person who wrote Amazing Grace. You know his story. He was a slave trader, but later on he became a slave himself, and his family saved him anyway. But he wrote this song, "I was blind, but now I see." Right? John Newton. In this Amazing Grace movie, you will see John Newton, but he is not the key character, center in this movie. The center of the movie is this person, William Wilberforce. William Wilberforce. Let me ask you a question. Can Christians participate in politics? Would you think it's proper for Christians involved in politics? I would say in the right way, right? Like in government. Can you be a president? Can you be a chairman of some board? Certainly, yes. Can you be a congressman as a good Christian? Yeah. This person, he was a member of Parliament of the United Kingdom in early, I think in 1780 some year, right? He and his 8 other people, for 26 years, they fight against the slavery system. In Europe, I don't know China, but in Europe, the slave system has been there for 1,000 years. But after William became Christian, there's a major lifestyle change and a lifelong concern about reform. So he fight the slave system. He considered, before Christ, we are all brothers and sisters. Now, how could you destroy a family in Africa and just grab the family member and send to a certain island, and then treat them like an animal and trade them, get some financial benefit. So based on the Christianity principle, he is strongly against the slavery system. For 26 years, he and other people, they fight, and finally, the United Kingdom, they abolished the slavery, and very quickly, the whole act affect the whole Europe. So the whole Europe, they abolished the slavery system. This is even before the Civil War in the United States. So sometimes I was thinking, United States, because do not have the religious freedom, so you fled from Europe and come to the American continent, right? And they declared independent. But in the slavery system, Europe, they abolished the system, before Civil War in U.S. But in here, I want to see a Christian after he was converted. His lifestyle changed, and he's concerned about the reform through his position, as a member of the, in here it will be a Congress or senator, right, to change the system. Not only to abolish the slavery system, he did a lot of things, like the treatment of the animal, or the prisoner, education, or those kind of things. This will be a typical meeting in the Congress, in the United Kingdom. So 8 friends shared a vision and passion. The victory of the abolitionists was the result of commitment and effect, teamwork. Now, William Wilberforce one time said, he wrote a book. Actually, you can find this book called Real Christianity. Even today, if you go to Amazon.com, you can find this book. I think for $15, right? And this book was written in 18, sometime. He said one sentence, which I agree very much. The accuracy of a person's judgment is built upon whom he must ultimately respond to. Right. So we, as Christians, we know whatever we do, whatever we decide, and our deed, eventually we will respond to God. We'll stand before God and respond to Him. If we think the person whom we must ultimately respond to is God Himself, then whatever we decide in our judgment, will be toward the right, we will stand on the right base, right? And the accuracy in eternity will be much more